Hello and welcome to the live series podcast where I bring to you some of the best technology leaders across Europe who are prepared to give up their time to share their expertise, stories and ideas in a way to bring the tech community together and inspire the next generation of software development professionals. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Paolo Dente, who is the CTO at an organisation called SpaceBase. Now, SpaceBase are a Berlin-based international booking platform for meeting rooms and workshop space globally. Paolo leads the development team of backend and front-end engineers and has a career spanning over 15 years in tech. Today, we're going to be discussing some of the challenges that he's faced during his career and discuss the advice that he has for other people who are looking to take a step into technical leadership in the future. So, Paolo, welcome to the show. Delighted to be speaking to you today. How are you?
Doing great, thanks.
Great.
All things considered.
All things considered, indeed. But yeah, it's really good to have you on the show. So the way that we usually start the show is to just really understand a little bit about you, tell us your story, and also how you've developed from a developer into a CTO position.
Yeah. Oh, well, my story is long. I'm 50. I mean, so I had a lot of time to deal with tech in various ways. When I was 8, my father used to take me to play with mainframe terminals in the Polytechnical University of Milan. And yeah, so I mean, I've been breathing computers since I was big.
Since you were little, yeah.
Yeah, and then when I was 20 or so, I started dabbling in actual real programming and stuff. First by cracking video games, of course, and then by learning to code with Pascal and assembler.
Wow.
And, yeah, those were the days. And well, then I kept on doing other stuff mostly until I decided that coding was actually what I was reasonably good at.
Yeah.
And I got a job as a web developer for a publishing company in Italy in 2001. And then I kept on plodding along until I got here, basically. And I became a CTO, formally became a CTO only 3 years ago, or 3 years.
Yeah.
And, but to be honest, I've been doing the same kind of stuff for most of my career. Because for a long time I've been developer and designer and maintainer and tech evangelist and sysadmin back when we were called sysadmins. So yeah. It was sort of a natural evolution to just.
Yeah. Did you always see yourself progressing into a CTO or to a leadership position? Is that all the always wanted to take, or is it just naturally progressed like that?
Naturally, I'm not very ambitious, I guess, so I didn't really yearn for a position of responsibility or anything.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there comes a time where it's either that or just realize you're always going to just be coding.
Every day. Yeah.
And I mean, I've been doing this for long enough to try and spice things up.
Perfect. So how have the, obviously, you know, we all know that there's a global pandemic going on and there's a lot of challenges that we've faced over the last few months. Just talk to us about how the last few months have been for you and for the SpaceBase, really.
Yeah, well, SpaceBase, as you mentioned, is a booking platform, and we work in the meetings business, and there are very few other other businesses that can be impacted quite as much. I mean, we could have been in the travel industry, and that would have been worse.
So it could have been a lot worse, but you're in that industry where you are obviously going to be impacted because people are not able to book out meeting room space because they're in lockdown ultimately.
Yeah, and what this meant for us is that the first, let's say, first month of the pandemic was like tumbleweeds. I mean, it was just nobody was about to book another meeting right away. Yeah. But luckily, the leadership of the company figured out a few ways of sort of mitigating the impact. And so we managed to survive so far, which is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. That's you're in a lot more fortunate position than other businesses because obviously it's massively impacted some industries, and unfortunately they've had no choice but to close down. So the silver lining is you're still there, you're still going, and obviously everyone can come out the other side, and then that's a positive, and then we can go again.
I mean, I'm kind of concerned that when we finally come out the other side, it's going to be like Mad Max or something. And I don't expect like 4 years to really want to book a meeting. If that does not happen, I guess we're going to be in a reasonably good position, mostly because we spent the last few months cutting a lot of dead weight from the platform itself. And that is good. I mean, the first thing we had to do was figure out a way of reducing the fixed costs. Because it's okay to pay a lot of money for, I don't know, Google services when you actually have users who benefit from them. When you don't, it's kind of not great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I understand. I think that's something that we've done as well as a business. You know, when you're backed against the walls, you have to take a look at everything, don't you, as a business, and decide what do you need, what do you not need, how can you take a step back and make those cuts, I suppose, from a product perspective, just to make sure that you do come out of the other side, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically that's what we spent the first month doing, like all day, trying to should we load this here or there, and if we load it there, maybe it's going to be that we are going to save 50 euros. I think I went a bit overboard with saving 50 or 50 euros. It's
so what would you say has been the biggest challenge over this period, both yourself and your team during this kind of last 3 months?
The real challenge is what happened in the following months, actually, because we've been at it for the last couple of months, and it's preparing for the future, because like trying to save the company from the catastrophe was one thing. It was very easy in a certain way, because that's what you need to do, and you know what you need to do, and you just go ahead. Things have become a bit harder after that, because we are in the middle of a massive, gigantic change in the platform itself. And we are doing that with reduced personnel, of course, because we can't afford to hire tens and hundreds of developers, and figuring out what to do, how to do, and doing this in a sort of continuous integration and delivery way. So we need to keep everything up and running, even though we are completely changing everything else.
So whose responsibility ultimately is that to look at that and to make those changes? Is that something that you would discuss with the higher management team? Do you get input from the development team as well? Or how does that kind of work?
That is, it's mostly the, well, it's actually a sort of choral, can you say that?
Yeah.
A choral thing, because all of the teams are going to be massively impacted by these changes that we in the development team are preparing, and so we needed to try and do things in the least impactful way that we can figure out, because it's I mean, it's really massive, and I can't bother you. I can't bore you with explaining the whys and wherefores of everything, but just a titanic thing, and so we basically were trying to have the development team do small changes that are then validated by the responsible team, ideally without the responsible team being even aware that a change was made.
Right.
So that is the ultimate goal for the time being, and all of this is in a future perspective, because this is what we need to do now to be able to do even larger things.
Okay. So how did you adapt from realizing that this pandemic had happened, and that you were going to have to make all of these changes, and then you moved into those next couple of months? How have you adapted, and what changes did you put into place, I suppose, and what are things like now that you've made those changes?
We had our last quarterly meeting before the very last, back in February, I think. And it was already rather bad in Italy, and I was, of course, I'm Italian, so I'm in contact with Italians, and I was very concerned about the situation. I was kind of the only one, but to be that concerned. In a few weeks, well, not even weeks, like a few days after that meeting, the situation was clearly going to be plummeting down. And so we started thinking about all the possible ways to deal with it, and we started making changes to the platform to try and let people book spaces, even though the pandemic was still raging.
Things were happening,
So things like I think we've been the first, or definitely among the first, to show a badge for venues and spaces that that can respect the coronavirus distancing measures. So and all the protections like hand sanitizer on the table, and you can have the spaces so and so, and the capacity of rooms is massively reduced, of course. But we did that. We managed to deliver that real quick, and I think that was a good idea, and I think that helped us as well with survival and so on. Then there's been some human intervention. We have been contacting space providers actually to try and keep them on board.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've been contacting the bookers to see if they wanted to postpone a meeting rather than cancel it altogether. And so it's been a lot. Yeah.
Really busy time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Perfect.
the platform is better for that, in my opinion. Yeah.
So what are you hoping for in the future now? Obviously you've come through this period and it seems like you were quite able to, or quite good in the way that you're able to put certain measures in place before even some companies now have not managed to even put those type of changes in place, and you were doing that back in March and February time. So where are you up to now, and what are you hoping for, I guess, in the future, really, from a business?
The main goal is to go back to at least the traffic we used to have and the bookings we used to have, and so on. So we are trying to do that in every possible way, of course. And I think that the coronavirus impact on our business is pretty much done. I don't think we're going to make further changes just for that. Now we're actually worrying about how do we grow the business in a possibly more pandemic safe way, and so on.
Brilliant. So from that side of things, it's quite positive that you've managed to come through that, and you've faced challenges, you've overcome them, and you're now in a position where you're probably not going to be impacted anymore. It's now about rebuilding ultimately and coming through it and progressing from there. Am I right in thinking, because you do meeting space all across the globe, in certain countries where there's less of an impact on the virus, that you can still continue to offer the service in those areas of the world as well?
Yeah, we do offer the service, but to be completely honest, Germany is by far our most active market.
Right.
So Germany is where we need the business to start picking up.
Yeah, perfect. So I suppose finally, if there was one piece of advice that you'd give to maybe a junior member of the team, or somebody out there who's looking to make that next step in their career into a manager or a CTO, what advice would you give them? Not wanting to put you too much on the spot.
I guess that the single thing that I would recommend is try and be a nice person, because I'm not sure I am actually a nice person, but that's definitely what I try to do. And because almost everything else can be learned and can be learned on the job. It's not rocket science. On the other hand, being able to deal with the various stakeholders and the members of your team, which are definitely going to make you mad every several hours, and doing so in a way that does not alienate you completely from other people, and doesn't make you doesn't
disliked from your team, I suppose.
I mean, you need to live with them, and you need to live with yourself. And I think that trying to manage conflict in my role is the single most important thing. The rest is, I mean, if you even think about becoming a CTO, that already means that you're a nerd and you're fanatic about tech, and you love your job, and you think at least that you have some shreds of ambition and so on. So those are all already taken care of. Being friendly when possible, and being not too obnoxious when you can't be friendly. I think those are traits that I definitely welcome in other people. So
great. I wholeheartedly agree with you. You know, you can't. You've got to lead by example. You know, you can't. You're dealing with people, and you have to understand that from their perspective and different ideas. So I've been posting regularly on LinkedIn about this recently, about being kind. There's not enough kindness in the world, and if people can just have that quality about them, I think that the workplace, the world, and everything like that will be a much better place. So it's really refreshing.
Nice. And of course, now you'll receive emails from the devs in my team that say, no, that's not. He's a complete jerk.
I very much doubt that. But I really appreciate your time, Paolo. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your insights and your advice that you've given to other people. Thanks everybody else for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you can share, like, and share amongst your friends and colleagues, I'd really appreciate it. But Paolo, thank you very much for your time, and
thank you.
I'll see everybody else on the next episode.